We are moments away from the beginning of the Moto2 European Championship race, with the nearly 30 rider field preparing to make their sole appearance of the day. A single race this weekend makes the points even more important, with Unai Radre searching for his first victory since Jerez. It's an ever-changing battle on this ever-changing circuit, with the Misano World Circuit being located just outside the beautiful city of Rimini, where 17 laps of Moto2 European action now awaits. You don't want to miss a second of the action today, so make sure you clear your schedules, as we're just moments away from going lights out in one of our most physically demanding classes, and with 16 corners to navigate, it's sure to be another race to go into the history books. Moto2 has arrived. Well, looking back at Aragon now, it was a great race, with Alberto Surra making an incredible start from pole position with Pavlik and Fernandez in chase. Fernandez also was making his way up the field, the 54, soon into second position. Radre made his presence known once again, making a little bit of contact at turn 2 as it was able to out action. Fernandez took victory, leading the way into the exciting race 2. In race 2, it was Alberto Surra once again made an incredible launch from pole position. However, Pavlik was hungry this time around, searching for a good result at Aragon and looking away to enter the podium as the fight was glued together at the front. The championship leader Radre soon entered P1, hunting for another win in 2025. It was draw-dropping action everywhere you looked as Pavlik stormed to the flag, victorious in Moto2's final appearance of the day. In a day you'll never forget. Here we are though, we're here in Misano, we're here in Italy for round 5 of the season. Just one race for the Moto2 European Championship. My name is Lewis Ray, and joining me for this weekend's action, and joining me for the Moto2 European Championship is Jack Amy. And well, Jack, nearly 30 riders are going to be taking part. We had plenty of drama yesterday, we'll get into just a moment's time. But what a race. This is set to be 28 riders going to do battle here at Misano.
Exactly, Lewis. 17 laps await the 28 riders as they fight for victory. And as you mentioned, we did have drama even before we got racing underway yesterday with qualifying. But it is going to be an incredible Moto2 European Championship race here at Misano. It might only be one race, but it will have the same action as always in this championship.
Yeah, of course. I mean, 17 laps coming up, and here is your pole sitter. Now, Unai Radre starting from P1. He wasn't the fastest rider yesterday, but he still gets pole, and that's due to the number 4, Eric Fernandez. Now, he was given a 6th place grid penalty for some slow riding yesterday.
He was, yeah. Fernandez claimed his first, or he thought he claimed his first Moto2 European Championship pole yesterday. He was very happy when we spoke to him earlier, or just after he claimed that. And then at the end of the day, it came through that he had the 6th place grid penalty. So the number 4 will start from P7, which promotes Unai Radre into pole.
Yeah, a real shake-up on the front couple of rows of the grid, but Unai Radre pole position. Not something that's unexpected. He's been very, very consistent this year, to say the least, and I'm sure he'll want to clinch yet another victory because, well, at Aragon, he wasn't exactly able to do it. Just podiums last time out, but still involved in the front fight. 2
podiums at Aragon. Hasn't won since Jerez, as you mentioned earlier on. Magny-Cours is the only round where he wasn't on the podium. He still managed a P4 finish in race 1. We'll be hoping to be on the top step after this race.
Yeah, we'll be looking to go back into P1, go back into the top spot of the box. But Unai Radre, 2 wins so far this season. Super interesting year that we're having in the Moto2 European Championship. 14 points separate Unai Radre and Alberto Fernandez. And of course, Fernandez, he starts on the front row as well after a great qualifying, and a little twist as he races this weekend, of course, with the team Chatty on the Bosso Oscuro.
He does. He has moved teams to number 54. Paid off for him in qualifying. Took his best result of the year with, well, it was P3 on the timesheets, which was his joint best. Will start from P2, which is best. 2 podiums at Aragon. We'll be hoping that streak continues.
Yeah, I'll be hoping that streak definitely continues heading into this race and heading into this round. Of course, Francesco Mongiardo as well. He'll be taking up the final spot on the front row. Originally qualified for row 2, but obviously Eric Fernandez's penalty that he received at the end of Saturday does promote him onto that front row. And well, Mongiardo, he's looking cool, calm and collected, and certainly got some funky sunglasses on.
Needed in this bright sunshine here at Misano, that's for sure. A bit of frustration yesterday for Mongiardo after, again, what he thought was P4 on the grid. Promoted to the front row, so hopefully a bit calmer, a bit happier with that. But yeah, a bit of frustration that he had to deal with yesterday evening.
Yeah, looking nice and cheery on the grid as things stand. One rider, though, is looking nice and focused. Alberto Surra. Now, Alberto Surra, where do we start? Not only by his qualifying performance, not only by how competitive he was at Aragon, but just how busy he's been here in the Moto2 European Championship and plenty of other championships. I mean, not only was he racing a few weeks ago, but he was also racing at Misano just last week in the Moto2 World Championship.
He might be the busiest rider in the world at the moment. He was obviously at Aragon for the JuniorGP Moto2, did very well there. He then went straight to Magny-Cours, a circuit that he said he doesn't like, and got a podium on debut. Did crash out of race 2, but was very quick throughout the weekend. Then he was at Misano last week in Moto2 World Championship. And then, obviously, this weekend he's competing here. And next weekend, he is back in World Supersport at Motorland Aragon. So a very, very hectic schedule for the Italian.
No rest at all, to say the very least. Of course, Unai Radre as well was racing here last weekend in the Moto2 World Championship. Plenty of riders actually getting some extra track time this weekend, although tricky for them stepping into the World Championship, but still some extra track time as we seen Xabi Zuratuza a few moments ago, and now Harrison Voigt, who of course will start on that second row of the grid. He's looking nice and calm, and certainly he's looking happy with a row 2 start. A tricky Aragon last time out, but Harrison Voigt, he's going to be looking to go from row 2 and picking up a few more places on the start.
A very tricky Aragon for the Australian. It did not start in race 1, 10th in race 2. So actually a best result of the season in Moto2 European Championship for the rider from Queensland, Australia. We'll be hoping for a bit more. And we see here Eric Fernandez, who was fastest in qualifying 2 yesterday, but starting from P7.
Yeah, so irresponsible riding is the reason for the penalty, the official line for the penalty. But yeah, Harrison Voigt, as you said, Dean did not start after, of course, the red flag that we had at Aragon because, well, he was involved in that high side, heading on to the back straight. But all looks okay with him, and he's going to be looking to continue his momentum into Misano and try to pick up a few more places. You can see Gambias actually just behind Voigt on the grid. But a busy grid here at Misano. You can just see the amount of people on there. You can barely move with all the equipment, all the teams, and some of the fans as well being able to get nice and close with the riders.
Yeah, there was a pit walk earlier for the fans here in attendance, getting up and close with the riders, getting autographs. Very fan-friendly event this morning, and we've been treated to some phenomenal racing so far. We're just looking at Alessandro Morossi starting from P8, the middle of the third row.
Yeah, Morossi, a great qualifying for him. We're bringing you through the front 3 rows. I believe we'll see Gambias in just a few moments' time. Of course, racing for the Australia Galicia team this season, the Moto2 Championship. And there he is, nice and calm, and looking ready to race. Now, 94, 1 podium so far this year, and proving how strong he can be, certainly in tricky conditions, but here today, completely dry, and a whole new challenge at hand.
A top 10 for the Uruguayan, the first of the season in qualifying, is making progress every round, getting adapted to the bike. As I say, it is his first top 10 in qualifying, starts from P9. We'll be hoping for a top 10 finish, perhaps a podium, unlikely, given the very dry conditions we have compared to when he got one at Magny-Cours, but we'll be looking for a strong result.
Another rider looking for a strong result, Milan Pavelic, starting from P10. Now, number 44, he's been so great to watch this year, been so consistent, really. But this is the first sort of hiccup, if you will. But I'm sure Pavelic is going to be back on form in terms of race pace.
Winner last time out in race 2 at Aragon, but yeah, qualifying didn't go the way of the Polish rider. We'll be hoping he can fight his way forwards.
And he starts alongside Adrian Cruces in P11. 22 points to his name so far this season. But looking nice and happy, looking relaxed. I think that's the main thing on this grid. He starts from row 4, of course. And some big names alongside him. We did mention Pavelic, who's became a front runner pretty much all the way throughout this season. And, well, it would be almost rude not to mention the rider starting next to him, starting from P12, Xavi Artigas. Now, a very, very experienced rider in multiple classes, some Grand Prix experience as well. You would expect the number 43, as we see him chilling on the grid, but we would expect him to see him work his way through the order on the MMR machine.
You would expect Artigas to make his way forward. First appearance of the season in this championship, had a couple of World Supersport outings earlier in the year. Always a busy rider, always looking to get on a bike as much as he can. So good to see him out here at Misano this weekend, and yeah, he'll be hoping he can move forward from P12.
Yeah, it seems like every single class he enters is just somehow instantly competitive as Artigas, but well, definitely some points on your debut in the Moto2 European Championship would be a nice bonus, as would for Oscar Gutierrez. Now, Oscar, of course, he's became a well-known figure in the Moto2 Championship and, well, continuing to make his name for himself in the Moto2 class. And Oscar, he's going to be going from P13 on the grid. A little bit of work to do for the number 99, but we know how well he is in a dogfight.
We do. As you said, he's making a name for himself in Moto2. He's had some Moto2 appearances as well. A very, very combative rider. Will definitely be looking to move forward from that P13 grid slot.
Lorenzo Fallon as well, another rider of plenty of experience. He'd come here in the past for the Grand Prix World Championship, but the French rider looking pretty focused, to say the very least. I mean, number 5, starting from P14 on the grid, 5th row. Challenging to do, but with some fast riders ahead of you, with the likes of Gutierrez alongside Artigas, Cruces even, and of course Pavlet, there still is a chance to work your way forward here.
Good riders to follow in, especially in race trim.
So, looking focused on pole. Unai Aradre, your championship leader, goes from P1, and we're moments away from going racing here in Misano. So it's time to bring you through your grid. Unai Aradre starts from pole position with Alberto Ferrandez and Mongiardo starting on the front row of the grid. Alberto Surra, Zurutuza and Harrison Voigt take up row 2, with Fernandez, Morozio and Yambias on row 3. Pavlet, Cruces and Artigas take up row 4, and as we said, Gutierrez starting from P13 alongside Lorenzo Fallon, and Ruiz in row 5, rounding out our top 15 as Rossi Moore, Josh Watley and Gimbert take up the top 18 spots. Jimenez, Lolly and Kursavan take up row 7, with Palomera starting ahead of Mario Mayor and Ruda in P24. Ludena, Alcubaese starting ahead of the number 51, with Eisenkolb taking up your final slot. So the 28 riders starting this one. Urstegi as well starting P27 on the 51. So an important race coming up. Just one appearance for the Moto2 European Championship here this weekend. Everything's building towards these 25 points. One race just means the result matters that bit more.
It does, and at this late stage of the season as well, only 3 races remaining after this one. So it is crucial now. You can't afford to lose points to your rivals if you're in that title fight.
Yeah, they're not going to lose any points, that's for sure, especially now that we're entering the late point of the season. Alberto Ferrandez, whatever happens, it's fair to say, no matter what team he's been on or been with this year, he's able to be fast. He's shown how talented he well and truly is out on circuit, and a real rider that's able to adapt.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been adapting basically throughout the season, almost adding an extra challenge for himself, and it's paying off for him. He's doing really well, race winner, consistently at the front of the grid in qualifying, and he'll be hoping for more of the same this weekend as with his new team.
Yeah, maybe just likes giving himself that extra bit of challenge, a little bit more drama to spice up the weekend. But whatever the case, we are just coming near the end of this warm-up lap. The riders making their way out of turn 10, where we'll see the championship standings. As we said, Aradre leading Ferrandez by 14 points. Pavlet and Surra round out your top 4 in the standings. They're close together as well, just 3 points separate Pavlet and Surra in the battle for P3 this year. And well, no matter where you look in Moto2, you're definitely going to see a battle. A nice range of lap times as well, meaning even for the final couple of points, we're expecting a real good scrap. There
will be battles throughout this field for P1, for P5, name a position, there'll be a fight for it. Obviously, riders will be hoping they are in those point scoring positions or higher while they're fighting. But yeah, this is going to be 17 laps of non-stop action.
Yeah, and well, Unai Radre, not only is he going to be hoping he's inside the points, he's going to be hoping he's at least in the podium, it's fair to say, if not in that P1 position for most of this race. Keep in mind though, Eric Fernandez did set the fastest lap in qualifying. He starts from P7 following the grid penalty. What's for him coming through the order? The number 4 does actually just take up his slot now. And then the green flag will hopefully wave at the back, all things being well. The 72 also slotting into position. But now it's time to go racing. The sole race of the day for the Moto2 European Championship. It is going to be lights on. And it's lights off, and now we get going. It's a great start from Fernandez from second position. He is ahead of Unai Radre, who could get swallowed up at the start of things at turn 1. He slots into 4th position. Alberto Surra on the attack, looking to enter 2nd place. Eric Fernandez as well, getting his elbows out. That was a big crash at turn 2. As, well, everyone trying to scramble and get out of the way. And, well, now the riders will be looking for avoiding action. The race will continue for the moment at the head of the field. I wouldn't be too surprised if we do have a red flag. It just depends how quick everything can be cleaned up. Luckily, everyone on their feet. But Fernandez battling away. Eric Fernandez looking up the inside of Fernandez of the 54, who continues to lead the way. So Fernandez and Fernandez at the front of this field. The real tongue twisters for us up here in the commentary box. Josh Watley involved. Unai Radre also involved in that opening crash. A massive moment on the front for Eric Fernandez. He drops back down to 3rd. Will it be 4th? But your championship leader, he had that high side exit in turn 2, and well, luckily, looks like everyone walking away from that one, because that was seriously scary. Eisenklopp, Radre, Morozio, Artigas, as well as Josh Watley, all involved in that opening corner melee. As well, Radre definitely going to be points lost. Up the inside though, Alberto Surra. He takes P1 yet again. Will it be a fight back for Fernandez? Yes, it will. He can't make it stick though, so the 54 slotting back into position. Almost running on the green, if not touching the green. But Jack, what a start that was. Drama. And well, there's too much to talk about at the moment because our championship leader is out.
Yeah, Radre out of this race after that big high side. The main thing is we've got notification on our screen that riders are okay after that. Obviously, we are continuing. We're just going through the site of that crash now, so no issue. As Surra leads Fernandez and Fernandez at the head of the field. They've got about a second in hand over Mongiardo in P4.
Yeah, it was a tough start for Unai Radre. Got him slipping back to about 3rd or 4th position. And as he just clicked on the power, trying to get the bike over to the left-hand side of the track for turn 3, the bike just lit up and down he went. I'm sure we'll see a replay later on in the race, but good to hear riders okay on the timing screen. But Fernandez battling away at the front of the field. And well, Alberto Surra in P1, what can he do? He has great experience. We were actually expecting him potentially to be on the front row here today, but clearly race pace, it seems to be where the 67 is shining.
Yeah, Surra perhaps a little bit disappointed to not be on the front row after qualifying yesterday, but made no mistake as he leapt to the front of the field on the opening lap and is pulling away from Fernandez and Fernandez at the head of the field on the run through turns 11, 12 and 13.
So Eric Fernandez now looking at the back of Alberto Fernandez. So it's going to be a tricky one to keep up with for the 54 and 4, especially now with the bikes looking so similar out on circuit. But nonetheless, the battle does continue. Francesco Mongiardo sits in P4, Zuratuza as well in P5. Harrison Voigt, a good start for him, P6 as things stand. And more importantly for him, no positions lost. And now this is where he can really start to get to work and try and find his way inside the top 5 overall. Alberto Surra, fastest lap of the race, goes his way. As a move up the inside does come the way of Eric Fernandez. Down the inside he does go, and now slots himself into 2nd position, beginning to chase Alberto Surra in P1.
He'll need to start closing that gap quickly. It's around 3 tenths in favour of the number 67 as Fernandez makes the move into P2 ahead of Fernandez. As you said, definitely going to get confusing. As we see a replay of start, Radre did not get away well and had almost made contact with the riders heading into turn 1.
Yeah, and well, now we come towards turn 2, pushed ever so slightly wide by Fernandez, Eric Fernandez, and then he just lit up the rear with the bike in the middle of the circuit. There was nowhere for the unsighted riders to go, and luckily everyone okay from that one. A seriously scary accident, but you can just see luckily everyone avoiding the riders themselves out on circuit. Josh Watley as well, immediately up on his feet. Unai Radre hands in the air, just making sure everyone's okay as he runs. But of course, it's too late. The number 10's machine was already destroyed. You can see at the bottom of that pile there, the 43 machine, that being Artigas, who was, his bike actually ended up on top of Vinaya Raj. But the marshals doing an impeccable job, again, that cleaned up nice and quick.
That was a big accident to clear up so quickly. The main thing is everyone walking away from that big one. As we see at the front, Fernandez has closed the gap massively to Surra through the final sector of that lap. Little to separate them across the line, just under a tenth of a second. He doesn't make the move into turn 1, but we saw him move into turn 2 earlier, and he's going to repeat that. He moves into P1 at turn 2 ahead of Surra.
Eric Fernandez banishing the demons of yesterday, banishing that 6th place grid penalty, and showing that it doesn't matter because he's in P1 anyway. He's learned his lesson, and now it's time for hammer down at the front of the field for the number 4. Surra sitting in 2nd. What response does he have? Or is it going to be the case of Alberto Fernandez in P3 to make a move? Mongiardo has fallen back just ever so slightly. Shabby 02's actually looking back, but Eric Fernandez running wide and now dropping back down to P3. So from 1st to 3rd, number 4 drops back and Surra retakes the advantage.
Just to note on lap times last time out, Fernandez was the only one in the top 4 to lap in the 1 minute 35. So he was around three tenths quicker than Surra. Obviously, he's just lost a big margin with that big mistake at turn 8, but it looks like he'll have the pace to close that gap up. We're just seeing a replay of it here.
Yeah, just a replay, just trying to get the bike stopped, feeling that he couldn't get turned in. When he did try to tip it in the rear, just came around violently and somehow stayed on, picking up that bike, running wide. And well, we've seen it time and time again, even the Moto2 just 1 week ago. That's how that Grand Prix was decided. And here in the Moto2 European Championship, turn 8 proven to be pivotal in this 17-lap dash. We come across the line in just a few moments' time, head on to lap 5. 13 laps now remain here at the Misano World Circuit. Surra continues to lead, nearly 2 tenths of an advantage, but look how aggressive Fernandez is able to be, and once again, turn 2 is where the moves are being made.
Fernandez obviously learned from Fernandez on the previous lap, going up the inside of turn 2 on Surra. Maybe a bit of a weaker point for the number 67. We see Unai Erladre in his box after that crash. Obviously very disappointed with how his race went.
Yeah, now trailing by 11 points in the championship as the 54 hits the front. It's a massive race in the title fight. Is this going to be the race we speak about as we head to Valencia? Massive moment though for Surra. Both riders down actually, and that is a crash both from Alberto Fernandez and Eric Fernandez. Both riders down at turn 8. And well, the 54, he tries to pick up his bike, and there's going to be no pickup for Eric Fernandez, that's for sure, because that number 4 machine is absolutely destroyed. And well, they're trying to get the bike started, and actually trying to give him a hand out on the gravel as an apology, if you will, if he can get that bike even restarted. But that's going to allow Alberto Surra, it's where all the drama started, a massive moment at turn 8, and suddenly everything unfolded in front of him.
Everything has changed. Both riders walking away from the crash at turn 8. But yeah, Alberto Surra now with an almost 2-second lead over Mongiardo in P2. So the Tusa completing the podium places as it stands, but he's in a fight with Harrison Voigt.
What more can this Moto2 European Championship race spring up? It's surprises from left, right and centre. Alberto Fernandez and Eric Fernandez crashing out here at Misano. Let's have a look, a massive moment for Surra. And well, Eric Fernandez just clipped the back of Alberto Fernandez, and that was that. That was all she wrote for the sole race of the weekend, and that's all she wrote at turn 8. Look how much damage was done to those machines. I'll be surprised if anyone can get the bike picked up and then if they can rejoin. It looked like Eric knew his race was done, but Alberto definitely trying to keep in the running, but you can see damage to the fairing there to try and pick out the gravel. The team watches on with disbelief.
Yeah, we have seen Alberto Fernandez has rejoined the race. He is down in 23rd place, and obviously with just 12 laps to go, he's not going to be fighting anywhere near the points most likely. That does have the advantage for Surra, but that gap has come down from Mongiardo massively. Surra does not have the pace at the front of this field.
Yes, well, Surra, he does have the race pace, but a massive moment it seemed at turn 8, running wide again it looked like, which has allowed Mongiardo just to catch up and reel in that gap yet again. Be interested to see if we can see exactly what went on there at turn 8 for Surra. But first, will a move be made from the 49? It's Alberto Surra versus Francesco Mongiardo. Xabi Zuratu's up in the podium positions. Harrison Voigt up into P4 as well. Does a podium potentially await for the Australian? We'll keep an eye on the lap times of course, the 54 further down the order to see if there's any hope of a single point here today. It looks unlikely, but now we come across the line. 11 laps to go. A mistake, it seemed, last time around for Alberto Surra, and he comes to turn 1. Turn 2 is where the moves have been made, but Mongiardo looks a bit too far back. The incident at turn 8 currently under investigation. It'll be interesting to see what they think of that one, because it looks like Surra had the first mistake, if you will, and had a big moment in the braking zone.
It did, yeah. I wonder if that could just come down to a racing incident, getting caught out by someone else having a bit of a moment. Obviously, we'll wait to find out what the stewards decide of the outcome of that. It looks like Surra has pulled out a bit of a gap over Mongiardo over the first sector of lap 7, so shouldn't come under threat at 10A, but this is the corner where he lost the time last lap.
Yeah, tips in, no drama this time around, it seems. What's it going to be on the exit? All good, no moment from the rear either. Yambias up into P7 currently as well. Crusez just ahead of him. Pavlitz started from P10, now into P5. And I'm sure in Pavlitz's head, he's thinking he's not done a terrible amount of overtaking in this race, but that's thanks to all the drama that's unfolded in front of him. And luckily for the 44, he's, escaped at the front unscathed.
Yeah, when you're in the middle of the pack, it's easy to get caught up in someone else's drama, even if you're just running your own race. So he'll be very thankful that he has avoided, considering the amount of drama we've had ahead of him, that he's avoided all of that to run in P5. A good recovery job so far for the number 44.
Yeah, a solid ride. I don't think he's been too disappointed with the points from P5, especially of how much has happened in this race in terms of the championship runners. Francesco Mongiardo having a little look over his shoulder out at the final corner there, perhaps just hearing Xabi Zuratu's up go on the throttle, just checking he wasn't too close for an attack at turn 1. But all things seem settled inside the top 3. Harrison Voigt trying to make up some inroads into the podium places, because how great would it be for the number 29 to enter the podium place? Now we see some battles further down the order into the brake zone. That's the number 91 into the brake zone for him, as we await for the continuing to run. That is the 54. That is Alberto Ferrandez. You can see the left-hand side of his bike. The fairing is off. Still under investigation. He's running a 138.9. Still fast and some riders ahead, but that left-hand side of the fairing is well and truly hanging off. And if he isn't careful, he could be receiving a meatball flag by the end of this race. Yeah,
I think there is a chance of a meatball flag coming out for him. It looked like a bit of contact maybe between Surra and another rider. I can't work out which one of the Fernandez it was, and then that sort of triggered it all. But 3 riders going for the same piece of tarmac effectively, as we see when Fernandez rejoined the race.
Yeah, Fernandez was at the head of it all with Eric, number 4, just behind. And well, who knows? The stewards, of course, will have better angles than us. They'll have some CCTV footage as well of the incident, as there is a crash. Now it's Mongiardo. Mongiardo's crashed out. Francesco Mongiardo, the 49, has hit the deck. He was running in P2. That's going to promote Xabi Zuratuza to 2nd position and Harrison Voigt into the podium. Let's have a look at what happened. Very, very wide and nearly into the path of Harrison Voigt. Luckily, avoiding the Italian, but he was so wide, grabbing the front brake, continuing on the brakes, and he had so long to try and save it, but the bike just said no more.
Yeah, a typical slow speed crash. You just lose the bike and can't save it. Very disappointing for him to crash out from P2 on home soil as well.
Yeah, on home soil, not what he would be wanting. But this Moto2 European Championship, does anyone want to finish on the podium here today? 9 laps still remain. Surra from Zuratuza and Harrison Voigt in 3rd. Pavlitz now in P4, with Yambias a few laps ago in P7. Now he's inside the top 5. He's made his way through on Crusez as well. So every single lap, well, this championship, this race, not giving us a chance to catch our breaths. Very, very wide yet again. And that looks to be for Zuratuza. So that could play into the hands of Harrison Voigt in 3rd.
It did look like Zuratuza was wide heading into turn 10. He does have more than a second in hand over Voigt, or rather did at the start of this lap, so that will probably come down after that mistake, but still enough of a gap to avoid being passed on this lap.
Yeah, exactly. 9 laps remain. We're a few corners away from making it, just 8 to go. We head on to lap 10 of the action. Alberto Surra tips into the left now. We'll get on the power once more. And, well, 3.3 seconds it was at the last sector point. We'll wait to see what it is now. I wouldn't be surprised if that's risen ever so slightly over the line. Yeah, now it's 3.5. So risen by 0.2 of a second. Harrison Voigt, he can soon start putting Zuratuza under pressure. Zuratuza is almost at the stage now where he's not going to be necessarily looking ahead, but he's going to be looking at his pit board to see what that gap is to Harrison Voigt.
He will be. Voigt was obviously accounting for Zuratuza's mistake, was half a second quicker on that last lap. So closing up the gap. Obviously, if Zuratuza doesn't make a mistake, you would expect that gap to stabilise very quickly. Surra now 3.8 seconds ahead at the end of Sector 1 on lap 10. So barring any drama, which we've had plenty of so far, looks to have this under control. Hopefully not the curse of the commentator there.
Yeah, hopefully no commentator's curse for Surra, who's doing a great job at the head of things. Looking at the lap times though, Harrison Voigt 0.8 of a second quicker. Now, that isn't necessarily race pace. That's thanks to a moment that Zuratuza had just 1 lap ago at this very corner. Again, a little bit wide, but I almost wonder if Zuratuza thinks the faster line for him is going to be slightly wider than, for example, what Harrison Voigt is, who takes a much more tighter conventional line at turn 10.
Yeah, we've discussed it already. There's 2 or 3 lines you can take through turns 9 and 10. A tighter one, which generally means you'll defend position but maybe lose out on exit, and a wider sweeping line, giving you probably a better exit on the run into turn 11 at Cavone.
Another 2.5 tenths now made for Harrison Voigt. This battle for second position is not over yet, and if they continue to fight over the next 8 laps or so, well, it's going to be Milan Pavelec who's going to be licking his lips in P4. A chance to the podium, not out the window yet. 7 laps remain in the Moto2 European Championship race. We tip into turn 1 now before, well, flip-flops to turn 2. Through the left and then back on the power. This is where Unai Oradri had his crash at the start of the race. The fast flow in turn 3 before turn 4. So tricky to get a move done over here. You have to basically be alongside in the braking zone or force your rival into a mistake. Having a look at the last couple of laps though, Voigt making inroads over the last 2.
Voigt, as we can see on the graphic, 2 tenths quicker. Zuratuza was in the 1:37s and it looked like a mostly mistake-free lap, apart from running a bit wide at turn 10, which, as we discussed, could just be his, like, a big moment under braking there. Does he hold? He runs slightly wide, seems to hold position. Voigt not able to take full advantage, but will be even closer now as he looks for the slipstream through turns 11, 12 and 13.
Yeah, the rear just stepping out in the braking zone as he tried to tip it in. But all good. He didn't actually lose too much time with that one. He was able just to carry the speed round the slightly wider line as maybe what he was hoping for. But a couple of tenths, you would say, were lost in that one. Half a second it was at the last intermediate point. Zuratuza and Voigt. Who's it going to be? Place your bets now, of course, because, well, it can go any direction. This race continues to spring on a surprise. We are close to being 6 laps to go here at Misano. And, well, Cruces and Yambias continuing to battle for the final spot inside the top 5. Cruces now ahead of that one. So they're having a good scrap as well. It's exactly what we expected to see in the Moto2 class. Maybe not as much drama at the front of the field, but still some awesome battles going on. None, not to mention this battle for the podium. We expected plenty of drama, perhaps not in the way we had it in the opening stages of this race. We do see Voigt, the gap perhaps stabilising a little bit, half a second across the line as they approach turn 4 now. Pavelec running in P4 as well. Yeah, around 30 thousandths of a second. Voigt was quicker last time around, so not much in it at all. And well, if Xabi Zuratuza can have a couple of good laps, that's exactly what he is going to have as a P2 finish. 5 seconds though is Surra's advantage at the head of the field. That has extended as well. That gap certainly has reduced once more with Zuratuza. And well, if Zuratuza invite back, so that's going to play into Pavelec's hand even more. So can the Polish rider step onto the podium? But well, a lot to be decided in this race. The battle for second is on. Harrison Voigt on the exit of turn 10. He gets on the power. The tyre wear's going to start to come into play now, of course. On Pirelli rubber are these Moto2 European Championship riders as they come through turn 11. come through Curvoni. We've seen some awesome shots of them drifting their way around the circuit throughout the weekend and last weekend in the Moto2 World Championship. But Harrison Voigt, no way through just yet, but it looks like he's going to try and force Xavi Zuratuza into a mistake.
It does. 3 attempts gained on this lap so far as Surra extends his lead now well over 5 seconds. He has built a massive gap, obviously taking advantage of drama behind him. Definitely has this under control as Zuratuza crosses the line to start his 14th lap in P2. Voigt not far behind him at all, just 3 attempts across the line.
Yeah, Harrison Voigt, this is an important lap. This is a crucial lap in the sole race of the weekend for the Moto2 European guys and girls, of course. But now the fight will continue on. They'll look for a way through. Right now, Harrison Voigt is just gathering almost some data inside his head, working out where he's faster, where perhaps he needs to work on his racecraft just a little bit, and just trying to work out where is best to make a move. Now, of course, if Xavi Zuratuza makes a mistake, that move's going to come pretty unexpectedly for Harrison Voigt. Now, we come into turn 8. This has been a key talking point of this race. Plenty of riders have ran wide, but no such troubles from Zuratuza as we come towards turn 9 and 10.
The bike is moving under him, under braking. That's happened a few times at turn 8, so perhaps Voigt is able to take advantage of that, because Voigt's bike looks a lot more stable under heavy braking, especially at La Quercia. But Zuratuza does have enough of an advantage at the moment that he won't have to defend into turn 14. He will keep P2 through that heavy braking zone, but Voigt will probably close up through the final sector.
It's also been super interesting to see how this race has played out with the strategy both riders have used. Zuratuza has essentially been going maximum 100% from start to finish. Harrison Voigt, he has let this race come to him, and now slowly he's building, and so is Pavelec actually, because that gap is definitely looking closer in P4. He's there lurking and not too far behind, especially if these guys start to fight over the next 4 laps.
Yeah, Pavelec definitely closing. He did a 1:36.5 last time out compared to a 1:36.9 for both Zuratuza and Voigt. So the times for P2 and P3 stabilising. Pavelec 4 attempts quicker though.
1.3 seconds was the gap between Voigt and Pavelec over the line, but you can just see the gaps coming down. So it's half a second a lap, 4 attempts, just over 4 attempts last time around. Now, we are seeing on timing screens, there has been the meatball flag, the orange disc, with the black flag with the orange disc, meaning that you have a mechanical issue. Now, that is for Alberto Ferrandez, and that'll be for the fairing that is essentially hanging off on the left-hand side. And understandable decision from the stewards. It's safety for him and it's safety for others out on the track.
Exactly. You don't want a big piece of fairing coming off into the middle of the track and putting others at risk. So we just see he's ridden into pit lane. So he's seen the flag and come in at the first opportunity.
Yeah, and lucky for him, the first opportunity must have been the pit lane, which means he can get straight into the debrief and speak about what happened this weekend, although they will have plenty of time to mull over it before we head to Barcelona for the next round of the season. However, as we look, less than a second between Voigt and Pavelec as well. Harrison Voigt, he was making inroads and he continues to, but I think it's fair to say it has slowed down. His momentum has slowed down over these last 2 or 3 laps.
Zuratuza did a good job of ensuring that Voigt couldn't pass, even when the 85 was making a couple of errors. And now Voigt is going to struggle because they are running very similar pace. We'll just see it as they cross the line. Big wheelie for Voigt off turn 16 there as well. Zuratuza did a 1:36.9. Voigt a 1:37.2. Pavelec, fastest out of the top 4, a 1:36.5.
Yes, simply impressive stuff from the 44. Perhaps just waiting for the tyre wear to come into things, waiting for their tyres to get slightly destroyed, and suddenly, well, Milan Pavelec has all the tyre available to him. What a year it's been for the number 44. And if we look back at the season so far, of course, our last time out winner at Aragon, they had 2 races to enjoy at Aragon, but that was his first win of the season. He claimed the podium over in the tricky conditions at Magny-Cours, and now, well, perhaps another podium awaits.
He's also been very consistent. He's been quick, but he's also been consistent. No finishes outside the top 8 this season. As you said, winner last time out. We'll be hoping he can make it 3 podiums in 2025, and he's closed in massively on Voigt again through the first half of lap 15.
And of course, a completely different strategy to Aragon, with them having 2 races there. This round, only 1 race, and then of course next round, they'll have 2 races yet again. So a slightly different approach to this weekend. But Pavlets, 7/10 of a second he gained on Harrison Voigt last time around. Simply incredible stuff from the Polish rider. He does take a slightly wider line. It seems like he can place his bike exactly where he wants to. Meanwhile, Harrison Voigt's bike is just beginning to run wide at places where he doesn't want to. He's not able to get stopped. He's not able to really get the tyre to bite and to turn when he needs it. But a little bit of chatter there through the final corner, but no issues as the 44. Does he line up a move heading to turn 1? He is in the slipstream. Will he pull it? He's too far back, but Milan Pavlets, a move is not too far away. As a massive moment there for Harrison Voigt, actually on the front end. He saves it. Coming towards turn 3 though, that's going to affect his drive. Milan Pavlets looks up the inside and he thinks better of it. Can he line up a move into turn 4 now? The bike's squirming about underneath him. And then again, wide goes Harrison Voigt, almost off the track onto the gravel. Is it an issue with his downshifts, I almost wonder? Because it looked like he was clicking back some gears before he got going again there. Whatever the case, if there is an issue, Harrison Voigt does not deserve this after the race he's had. And Milan Pavlets, well, he's into the podium.
Pavlec into the podium place is taking advantage of that. You would suspect perhaps an issue with downshifts, given that it was 2 very similar mistakes within 4 corners. A rider runs wide and someone will perhaps brake a little bit earlier at the next heavy braking zone to avoid that, but continue to run wide.
Yeah, so continuing to run out on circuit, and you can see a massive moment again. Actually, it looks like a near high side for Harrison Voigt in the background. So having the moment onto the back straight, really struggling there with his rear tyre and getting the bike stopped. We see here, right, so he does run off the circuit as we've seen, but does he shift down? And he does. He clicks down another gear before he gets going again. So whether that be due to downshift issues or whether that be just him going a little bit slower and needing that lower gear. Whatever the case, he's not in the podium anymore, meaning that Milan Pavlets, well, what a race it's been for him into the podium, and what a race it's been for Alberto Surra. It's final lap time and over 5 seconds of an advantage.
Surra has had a relatively calm race after the opening few laps, taking advantage of the chaos behind to build that big gap. I'd say 5.5 seconds over Zorotuza in second. Pavlec was 2 tenths faster than Zorotuza with around a second separating them, so unlikely you would think Pavlec will challenge for P2, but you never know on this final lap.
Yeah, you never know. You never know anything, it seems, in the Moto2 European Championship. This race has changed everything in terms of the championship. We have plenty to talk about anyway after this one. Plenty for the people back in the lorry to put into the highlight reel for this one, because there's so much to fit in. But whatever the case, it's been such a good race for Alberto Surra. Of course, very busy rider to say the very least. Whatever the case, the business seems to be paying off. The extra track time seems to be paying off, and now he's moments away from winning the sole race of the day here at Misano.
He is on course for a win on home soil as well. This will probably mean so much to the number 67, a victory at Misano. As you say, he's 5.5 seconds clear of Zorotuza heading into the final 6. We've just had a notification that Eurostegui has crashed out from P20.
A massive shame for Eurostegui on this final lap as well. Alberto Surra is 1 corner away from victory. He first won back earlier in the year at Magny-Cours, and now he wins at Misano. Alberto Surra is your Moto2 European Championship race winner. The team are delighted with this one. Second position goes the way of Xabi Zorotuza, with Milan Pavlets in P3. Harrison Voigt does come home in P4. A tricky end to proceedings for him as Cruces gets the better of Yambias for the final spot inside the top 5. Gimbert and Fallon should be next up, but the flag awaits for celebrations for Surra. You can see how excited he is down there, just on the entry to turn 3. On the first lap, actually, that was the zone that everything changed for them. But celebrations beginning in pit lane. Another win to add to Alberto Surra's tally. He has the flag up in the air to celebrate, of course, here in Italy. What better way to do it than at Misano? I'm sure this was his aim heading into this weekend. We did speak about that he'd be disappointed with his qualifying result, but nonetheless, super, super impressive stuff. Xabi Zuratuza, second position for him. The 85 does cross the line in second. Milan Pavlic rounding off the podium. So the podium celebrations in a few moments' time, of course, Parc Fermé celebrations are going to be one to remember, that is for sure. But Harrison Voigt, well, looking at his dash after that one, I think he'd be disappointed with a P4. It was looking so good for him and the middle stages of the race, but nonetheless a P4 is a great result, and a P4 is some real solid points to head into the final couple rounds of the season, not to mention it's Voigt's best finish of the year. Up to this point it was a P10, of course that means scored last time out at Aragon. And actually Surra, he's got the flag pole, but the flag, well, it's went a wander. He no longer has it, he's lost it. I don't think he's going to be too upset about that one. I don't think he's going to be crying about that one, because, well, there'll be tears of joy, if anything, and that's after that ride. Over 5 seconds of an advantage, actually just under 5 seconds after his celebrations. To the line. You can see a massive burnout from Xabi Zuratuza. American racing, what a day it is for them. Milan Pavlic, happy with that one. P10 on the grid to P3 on the box. And still, we await for our winner. Surra soaking in every single moment, soaking in every last meter of this Misano World Circuit on this cool-down lap. He'll wave to the marshals, wave to the fans that have stayed this afternoon to watch their action. Of course, still plenty to come here on the Adriatic coast. And what better way to do it than in these scorching conditions. Track temp at the end of the race, nearing towards 40 degrees Celsius. So getting toasty for the riders and getting toasty for their tyres as well. And there goes the flagpole, finally gets rid of it as he pulls into the inside of the circuit. I'm sure it'll be a little burnout to the enjoyment of the fans. There's a grandstand just to the right that plenty of people are watching on trackside here today. And a little wheelie into the pit lane. He's took all the time he needed, that's for sure, on this cool-down lap. But Alberto Surra is your winner here at the Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli. And of course the Moto2 European Championship. They'll be back in action at Catalonia for more. The team await in Parc Fermé. Very soon we'll be here. We can hear his thoughts as he speaks to Jack down in Parc Fermé. Another burnout. That Triumph engine getting them beaten after what was an intense 17 laps of action. And well, just soaking the celebration. You could hear the screams through his helmet. And now second place in the championship. He entered this weekend P4 in the standings, and now with Unai Aradre, Alberto Ferrandez crashing out ahead of him, it now promotes him up into second. Of course, all the reactions still to come, and all the full results and championship order. But well deserved. You can imagine the atmosphere in that pit box later on tonight. Xabi Zuratuza, I think he's as delighted for his teammate as what he was his own podium. You can just hear celebrations down there in Parc Fermé. As we look back at one of the key moments of the race, Alberto Surra, a little bit of contact with Eric Fernandez, it looked like, potentially. Whatever the case, Eric Fernandez got unsettled and hit the rear of Fernandez's machine. And well, the 54, he did get the bike restarted, actually got it restarted in the gravel. Alberto Surra did lead the field through, and look at that. Celebrations on the last lap, the leg out to the fans around the circuit. He knows how much this means to all the Italian fans that have made the trip here to Misano this weekend. Some of them, I'm sure, have stayed from last weekend's MotoGP action to make it into a true trip to remember. A Surra chance here out in Parc Fermé. He'll be down in just a moment's time and speaking to Jack to hear his thoughts after, well, the victory. You just see, noticing that flag being lost there, but we're nearly ready for, first of all, to hear from him, and then for the Parc Fermé celebrations to begin. I'm sure he'll have a few words to say for his fans here in Italy, as he makes his way over and heads into position to have a word with Jack down after Moto2 European action here at Misano.
Alberto, win on home soil, 5.5 seconds clear in front of your fans here at Misano. How does that one feel?
Yes, a great feeling in this weekend, and I and my team very fast work, nothing. It's very happy. Thank you too.
And in Italian for your fans in Italy.
Sono veramente stanco anche in italiano. Niente, volevo ringraziare tutti quelli che mi seguono, tutti i miei amici che sono venuti qua, il team, tutto. È stato veramente un bel weekend. Eravamo in difficoltà, ma col lavoro e con la testa si può fare tutto.
Alberto, congratulations.
Well, Alberto Surra is your winner, and this is how it all unfolded. It was a great start for Alberto Ferrandez. While Unai Aradre dropped back. He dropped back to P4, P5 at the start before this high side, losing the rear into the middle of the pack. It was a multi-bike collision, a chain reaction out on the track, but luckily everyone escaping unharmed. All riders okay from this scary incident on the opening lap. Xavi Artigas also involved in that one. The battle would continue at the front. It was Surra from Ferrandez, and then Eric Fernandez just behind. They battle their way through turn 8, a corner which would have so much drama later on. As Eric Fernandez hit the rear of the 54, both the riders went down, bringing an end to their hopes on Sunday. Alberto Ferrandez got the bike restarted, however, he'll be later be given the meatball flag, forced to retire to the pit lane with too much damage to race. Surra did head the field, the 67 lead the charge before Mongiardo had this moment trying to save a front end crash, and well, Xavi Zuratuza done a great job at avoiding, as did Harrison Voigt. Harrison Voigt though wasn't over yet. He then settled in third, trying to close the gap to Zuratuza behind. However, Voigt was run into a few issues as the race went on after spending a couple laps closing the gap before this moment here. Turn 4 proven to be pivotal in this race yet again. But what a ride it was for Surra. As you can see, running wide after running wide at turn 1, he did the same at turn 4. Harrison Voigt's race went from P3 to P4. Milan Pavelich was now in the podium positions. Fight continued. Pavelich continued at a good pace, but he couldn't do anything about it as Alberto Surra took victory in Italy. The celebrations began early, a 4.6 second winning margin. He couldn't believe it. Delightment for the 67. Now we're on the podium. The podium celebrations just getting underway. Milan Pavelich first out in terms of our riders after a simply incredible ride. Zuratuza will be taking second position with Surra in P1. So Zuratuza and Alberto Surra finishing an incredible day as the Italian national anthem will play in just a few moments' time here at Misano, and I'm sure the crowd are going to absolutely love this one. That's his chest protector, certainly thrown off the podium as Pavelich receives his trophy. A kiss and a point to the air, of course, an emotional season so far for the entire JuniorGP paddock. Xavi Zuratuza now happy with that one. I'm sure that was a hot race, a warm race out on the bike. As Surra wins and the Italian national anthem prepares to ring out here. And that was a great rendition, I'm sure, national anthem rendition that Surra will never forget. You can see how much it means for him as the Prosecco is sprayed down on the podium. After what was such an eventful race, Surra, I'm sure he'll be delighted with a podium. Looks like potentially he thought he had a little bit more left in the closing stages, but a P2 finish, I don't think he'll be complaining about that one as he looks back at the results later on this evening. Surra as well sharing the celebrations, sharing out the Prosecco. Well, I think Surra is just trying to cool down ever so slightly, but the photos will be taken and they'll end up on social media later on, where of course you can see all the reaction. So as the riders line up for a photo, it is time to look back at the results from such a dramatic race. Where can we even begin? Because Alberto Surra is your winner by 4.6 seconds over Xavi Surra, but that is not the story of the race. Surra took victory by 4.6 seconds with Milan Pavlik rounding out the podium. Harrison Voigt finished at P4 after a late move from Milan, with Adrian Cruces, Yambias, Gimbert, Fallon and Ruiz rounding out the top 9. Christian Lolly took P10 with Oscar Gutierrez finishing in P11. Kurskavan finished P12 in that one, with Palomera finishing P13. Rossi Moore and Mario Mayor took the final points in this race, with Alcabayese taking the final finishing spot. Urstanege, Ferrandez, Eisenkolb, Mongiardo, Fernandez and Radre were your crashers. Plenty of followers in that one, plenty of drama and plenty to discuss. Morozio as well, not to mention Xavi Artigas and Josh Watley. And now, of course, after that race, we have a big change in our championship. Radre still holds on to the lead after all the falls throughout the field, but it's Alberto Surra who now sits second place in the standings, 7 points behind, with Milan Pavlik sitting P3. Alberto Ferrandez down to P4 in the championship. Surra remain in P5. Yeri Ruiz in P6. Yambias rounds out the top 10 in our standings at the moment after another solid top 10 finish. Gimbert, Cruces, Tapia and Eric Fernandez, P14 in the standings, 30 points to his name. One opportunity it was today, but it just wasn't meant to be. Harrison Voigt also up into P17 in the standings after what was a good ride, potentially riding over a few issues in those closing laps. Mattia Volpe as well, he's just been demoted to P24. Borja Jimenez taking the final spot inside the top 25 in the standings. Now though, attention for the Moto2 European Championship will turn to Barcelona, the next round of the season for them. What's going to be round 6 of the year. 2 races in store for them. And I'm sure Alberto Surra is going to try and carry his momentum into Barcelona. The Italian wins in Italy. What a result at Misano. A great ride for the 67.